What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Welcome viewers 2024. Let's kick it off with a bang. It's an update on the Kawasaki 2022 Z1000 rebuild. Alright guys, so for those of you who don't know much about the bike, I posted a video back in November in 2023 about a motorcycle I bought that was from an auction, from an accident repair, insurance claim that someone had an accident, basically a brand new 2022 model, Kawasaki Z1000R. Basically, the person had pretty much bought the bike from Peter Stevens, a motorcycle dealership in South Australia, in Adelaide, I believe, in Australia. I'm based in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. And they bought it from there, ridden home after the demo, bought the bike and ridden home, and on the way home had a car rear end them at the traffic lights, which is quite unfortunate. But fortunately for me, I was able to pick up this bike, basically a brand new Z1000 2022 model with only 116 kilometers on the clock. 116 kilometers, not 160,000, not 16,000, 160 kilometers on the speedometer. So that was pretty crazy. You can check out that video. I'll post a link in that above here. But basically where we're at now is it's been about 2.5 months since I posted an update, and a lot of people have commented saying, where's the Z1000 update? Where's the Z1000 update? So here it is. We've been delayed in parts, and during the Christmas break I had a lot of parts ordered from Japan directly from the manufacturer, and some OEM suppliers as well, and that's taken some time, unfortunately, because of the Christmas break and the trading period, and companies shut down production and so on. And being a newer bike, there's not a lot of aftermarket parts, and there's not a lot of second-hand parts because the bike's fairly new. So all the parts that have been purchased are brand spanking new, and those that weren't in stock I was able to get from aftermarket supplier, but most of it is factory parts. I do have some aftermarket parts which I'm going to add to the motorcycle once it gets back on the road, with some aftermarket exhaust systems and so on. But initially we have to revert it back to almost stock, but with a bit of a flair. So we can put some custom designer parts on it and graphics and stuff like that to make it really shine. And from there on, we'll be able to really customize it once we get the clearance from the vehicle inspection to say that the bike's been recorrected and fitted. So we'll flip the camera around and we'll do a walk around. Taking it apart, I've pulled the parts off it. I'll show you the parts on the workbench in a moment that we've removed. But basically, we've pulled apart, we've taken all the side cowling off, the underbelly fairing. As you can see, we've got some scratches we've got to repair. I was going to get a new one for the crankcase cover there, stator cover, but that's only surface scratches, so that's very minor. So I'm going to polish that up and repaint that and give it a new life, because there's not really much wrong with that at all. Apart from everything else is relatively clean. There is some handle, so I've got some new levers there. Obviously that's the clutch lever. The brake lever's got a scratch on it. Some new bar ends I've got to put on. Mirrors are intact, they're great. Tank's fine. The under cowling, the engine fairing there, that's going to be replaced. I've got all those parts there. Everything else is pretty good. Now the biggest concern for me, the biggest part, which was this component here, we'll pan the camera around, is this one here. Now this part is so difficult to get. This was the rear tail fairing, frame fairing for the cowling and ducting. So basically this whole rear holds the pillion, passenger seat, the rear cowling, the whole tail light section, brake lights, and also the ECU cover that goes underneath. We'll just pan across through here. Now, as you can see, that's snapped off. Now the original plan was to CNC, or see if we can get another, zoom out there, another piece of this and get it CNC'd and made up and TIG weld on, but then we'd have to get an engineering certificate, and that's going to prove more costly in the end anyway. So, well, not necessarily more costly, but more time consuming. And then if we go to do the VRV inspection, they're going to say, oh, okay, we need this inspected, we need the frame tested for strength, capacity, and all that sort of stuff. So rather than do all that sort of stuff, it worked out. I've got it on order. It hasn't come in yet. It's due to come in direct from Kawasaki in Japan, and we're looking at around 4 or 5 weeks, probably 4 weeks from today, give or take, possibly even sooner. So hopefully in 3 or 4 weeks, we'll have this whole rear section new. And that's coming at $929 Australian. So it's quite an expensive part. I'm not sure what that converts into US dollars, but probably around $1,400, $1,500. So just for that tail section there, alloy subframe, pillion section, it's quite an expensive part. So that's what we're waiting on. We've also got the shroud, the plastic shroud that holds all the ECU housing in. So that's got to be up in there, tucked up away. So that's the plastic shroud and box. The battery box is in front of that. That doesn't need to be replaced, that's fine. This bike does start, for those who haven't tuned in and watched the other video. This, like I said, the bike's only done 116 kilometers on it, on the speedometer. It hasn't even had its first running yet, let alone oil change. The spark plugs I was going to pull out, and I checked one of the leads and it hadn't even had a mark on it. So they're brand new, untouched. So that's where that is. So we're waiting for that part there to come in. Tires, everything else is fine. So we'll pan across now and I'll show you all the new goodies we've got. So as you can see, the exhaust there. The seat I pulled off just to show you guys what we've got there. So that obviously just goes on like that. There's nothing wrong with the seat at all. So we'll just line him up, put him in. That locks in, that's perfectly fine like that. So as you can see, the seat's on there. So that's fine. So once we get that rear end, this is where all the business happens. So once we get this on, pretty much most of the bike will go straight on. So if we pan across, all right guys, so as you can see here, here's the part selection we've got panning over the top of the workbench here. As you can see, it's quite an extensive amount of parts that we've removed off the Z1000, or should I say I've removed off the Z1000. So we'll start with the rear end. Obviously she had a rear end impact. I did talk about it's been a bit of time. I've had delays in parts. So here's a bit of an overview of the parts we've removed and what we're going to be replacing. We are going to be replacing some other components after the VIV is done, but initially we'll start off with just this stuff. So as you can see, we've got a ripped rear end seat. It's not major. I could have had this repaired, although I did have the undercarriage. You can see the pins there. If I just move the camera around a little bit here. So looking at these pins here, there's supposed to be a tab there. So we can get a close up there. That's snapped off, and same with that one there. So when it's hit the rear end, focus on that. When it's hit the rear end, it's obviously hit the rear end and it's snapped and lifted off, and that's snapped the rear end pins that lock that pillion set into place. We've got a tear there. So I've just ordered a brand new one. I have gone with a sort of a neon plush green, so we're going to retrofit that. What I mean retrofit, it'll fit on, but it's going to look a bit retro with the color scheme. Bit of an option there. We've got a tail light issue, so obviously when it's at the rear end, it's cracked the tail light, so that's no good. You can't just get a lens replacement. With the VIV, which is basically getting the vehicle basically checked over, it has to be put back to factory or factory standard as it was at the factory, and then we can customize it afterwards. So that's a tail light issue there, so I've had to replace that. Obviously you've got a collection of components here, miscellaneous. This is the front visor that goes over the headlight shroud. It's got some marks and scratches in that, so we've just taken that off. That's that bit there. We've got obviously the undercarriage. This is a piece from the undercarriage that goes underneath the tail frame. So if you pan back over towards the bike, you'll see under here, so that plastic shroud came up under here like that, and obviously your side fairings and everything there came off the back, and that's broken off there as well. Obviously the tail light mounts there, the pillion seat goes up there, so that's that part there. Go back over to here, so that's the undercarriage there, that's all been cracked. That's been ordered in. There's a bit of a delay on that, so that's going to take around about 4 weeks to come in. You can see we've got our rear end cowlings here, our tail cowlings. They're the side cowlings that go on the side of the bike. So as you can see, that's all been cracked and damaged, so that's been replaced. We've got the other one there as well, so it's more of a metallic silver than a grey. And then we've got our side cowling. So some of this damage was also from when it leant over, so it was hit in the rear end, or sort of tapped in the rear end, because it doesn't take much with these to give them a tap from a car. And we've got a lot of scratches there. This one's got a lot of heavily surfaced scratches and cracks and stuff, so they've all had to be replaced. I do have the fairing kit in, which we'll go through. And then we've got this one here as well. This one's not too bad. It's just got some marks on there, and I think it's got some clips underneath that are broken. Obviously, you know, bits like this, you don't really notice until you look around at the fairings. Obviously that's broken off as well, so that's all have to be replaced. There's some bushings there. things like this. This looks great, and then all of a sudden you go there and it's like, oh, it's snapped off right at the bottom there. So yeah, that has to be replaced. It's unfortunate how it is. And then you've got your underpan belly that goes under your, covers your cat and your manifold under the bike. That's scratches and scuffs. And obviously this one as well. Big cut, scratch there. That's obviously from laying over and hitting something on the road. And yeah, so that's basically where that is. So that's all the parts there. As you can see, it's quite an array of parts. So we've had to order all that stuff in, some of which 80% of the parts we've got in, just waiting on some other parts as well to come in the next 4 weeks. All right, so let's head back to the bike. All right, first off, viewers, I'd like to thank everyone who's smashed that like button and subscribed. You've made it possible for me to get to something I never thought I'd get to, let alone even be possible, and that is 10,000 subscribers. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been a bit of a long struggle the last few months. Some of you may know that I've had some injuries, work-related and accident injuries in the past. And that's my motto at the moment: if you can't ride them, rebuild them. And I'm also rebuilding myself. So stay tuned for those updates as well. But getting back to the Z1000 update, yeah, it's been a requested update, I know, and I've been delayed in doing it, but here it is, we're back. We have had a lot of parts come in. I've been dealing with overseas part manufacturers from Japan, direct from Kawasaki, as well as aftermarket suppliers. And it's been an issue, especially through the Christmas period. It's taken some time to get those parts to come in for obvious reasons with, you know, the purchase of online parts and inventory and stockers through the Christmas break. So that's taken some time. So from that, let's dive into it. Let's have a look at the parts. Let's go through everything. Check it out. Come over here. I'm going to give you a bit of a screenshot. What's going on here? So you can see here, yep, we're at Dad's garage. That's my garage. So we've got all the new fairings here. Now, these fairings, believe it or not, are actually aftermarket. Now, I went with aftermarket. Why? Because Kawasaki Japan told me that it would be at least 6 months for a fairing kit to be made. I'm like, you've got to be joking. 6 months. So I was like, Struth, no, I'm not putting up with that. So I contacted a supplier in Europe, and they sent me to a company in China who manufactures OEM parts to factory specifications, including part numbers. So as you can see, this is brand spanking new, including paintwork. There's a bit of a bug on there. That's an Aussie summer for you. In the garage, you still get bugs inside. But the actual paintwork is really nice. I mean, I haven't touched this, I haven't wiped it, I haven't cleaned it, nothing. So I'm trying to focus in on that. Now, even on the back, I was quite surprised, but even on the back, they have part numbers, believe it or not. Where is it? There it is. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but you might be able to see the part numbers there. So there's the part numbers there. So there we go. Perfect. So the part numbers match the factory part numbers, which is crazy. So it's made out of PA6 plus ABS. So it even tells you what type of material it's made out of, which is pretty cool. Me being someone who's doing a bit of 3D printing as well, who knows a bit about that, it's interesting to see that the materials they've used in 3D printing, they're using in actual injection molding. So that's pretty crazy. So that's pretty cool. So you can see there, they've done a really good job on that. Quite impressed with that. So you can see that's a top fairing there, and that's going to basically mount up somewhere around here somewhere. So like that. Where are we? Somewhere like that. Anyway, we'll work it out later, but that's basically where it's going to go, and that's going to look really, really nice like that. So that's that one. So they're those pieces there. We'll just pop him back nice and gently because we don't want to scratch anything here. We're trying to balance the camera. Last thing I need is something dropping. All right, so there's those. We've got the underbelly fairing there. As you can see, the comparison between the old parts and the new is pretty cool. Now, the rear end ducktail, as you can see, I've got some custom levers here. We've got the Z1000 logo levers with the quick change adjustables on them. Focusing on that. Very well made. You can buy the aftermarket ones of these. Now, these are aftermarket, obviously, but the cheap ones are these, but I don't really trust the manufacturing cast process of the alloy, whereas these are from a reputable supplier, so I'm quite happy with those. Now, keep in mind, this fairing kit I'm showing you it cost me a total, now it came with parts that I didn't need, but it cost me a total that I couldn't really knock back because you couldn't get them itemized on their own, so you couldn't get individual parts. Say for instance I didn't need this headlight shroud, but it came with the kit anyway. So for $720 for a full complete fairing kit, that obviously I'm going to end up with spares for, so that comes in handy for myself and for the buyer of the motorcycle when I eventually sell it, is quite handy. So 770 Australian dollars, considering Japan, Kawasaki were going to charge me 3,800, which is absolutely crazy. It's bonkers. So I couldn't believe that when I heard that. So basically right now, the cost of the bike, we've got between a 16 and 18,000 Australian UAD retail bike. We're basically at a cost of around 9,000, which is pretty good. So the VIV process is going to cost about $800, $600 to $800 Australian, and that'll put us around the 10k mark. So we're still well and truly in front. So you can see the parts, nice parts there. Now with the rear cowling, I went a little bit different. If I can pan in here, the graphics logo, I went slightly different, and you can see that nice pearl there. So I went with a charcoal grey silver pearl instead of the charcoal black pearl. Now why did I do that? Well, I just felt that this was a nicer colour, and just to break it up from the all black on the Ninja, just to make the fairings and make it pop a little bit off the frame. Also went with this too as well. So the tank plastic shroud that goes over, we'll just compare the two. As you can see, we've got the black one there that goes over the tank, and you can see the metallic charcoal there on the tank. So I've actually gone for the metallic silver over the metallic charcoal. Now I think that's going to look really good. That's just my opinion. It came with the bike anyway. I'll try and zoom out a little bit. It's hard to hold the camera at the same time. But it came with the bike anyway, so I figured I would go with that colour. So yeah, it is what it is. So that's that. I had the option of choosing different colours, but I couldn't separate the colour between the tank fairing and the rear cowls. So, or the pillion cowls, swing arm fairing. So I thought, well, I'll just stick with the two, the same colour as that. And then obviously they threw in the headlight shroud. Now I'm not sure about that one as well. I'm trying to get the light on here, but it's a bit hard. That's slightly darker. You can see the resemblance there. You've got like a metallic charcoal versus a silver metallic with a silver pearl. So they're very similar, but one's lighter and one's darker. So, you know, and we've got all the other pieces as well. So we'll show you that as well. So that's all the brand new parts. Very, like I said, very good quality. If anyone needs a shout out or anyone needs any suppliers for motorcycle parts, the company that I dealt with actually does all parts for Yamaha, Suzuki, KTM, even European bikes, I think Ducati, mvagusta. So if anyone needs any parts, let me know in the comments and I will hook you up with the company that supplied all these parts. I'm quite happy with them. The price was really good, a lot better than other suppliers, which was crazy. All right, so let's show you the other parts on the table. All right, so we've got, as you can see, we've got the tail lights here. So that's the old one there. We've got that on the table because we're going to switch the rubbers over. So that's obviously cracked. So we're going to take those rubbers off there and we're going to put them on the brand spanking new one, which is right there. So that was really good. That was actually supplied by the same retailer company who supplied the fairing kit. So I was really impressed with that. And they supplied the tail light mount, the tail light actual bracket, sorry, and the tail light, the indicators as well for the rear as well. And also included the whole mounting section, I don't know where my language has gone there, the whole mounting section for the rear tail light. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like, so you can see where the indicators go in there where my thumb is, and the tail light. That's all still going to be fitted and put together and screwed together, and that's why it's hanging out the arse end sort of thing there. So that's going to go on the rear of the bike. Obviously that goes over here. You know, that mounts there. Obviously we don't, you know, no one likes to look at this stuff. You know, when you actually mount this on the bike, you know, who really likes to look at that on the end of the bike? But, you know, it is what it is. You've got to do it to get it back on the bike, and then obviously after that, we can do a fender delete on it. I'd love to put a pair of straight cut pipes on there, maybe even some Aperovicic, never explain these bloody names, pipes on the back here, some carbons or something. That'd be really nice, and let that really raw decat delete, get rid of that, pollution Euro 5 spec rubbish that they put on these bikes to make them quieter. And I mean, come on, these bloody carbon emissions, people drive me nuts. But so there's a lot to do. We've got a lot of fairings to put on. I'm still undecided. Comment below if you think I should swap this front fairing out and the black tank fairing for that silver charcoal rather than the black on the tank with that charcoal black there. It's a bit hard to tell with the light because it reflects the pearl, but it is a lot darker. Sorry for the camera there, guys. Using a whole new camera system here, so I'm doing my best, and a new mic. So people have mentioned they want better audio and better camera quality, so there it is. So yeah, so obviously down the track we want to get rid of this whole section under here, delete that whole cat sensor area there, and get rid of those massive exhaust systems there. So we want to get rid of that as well. So there's twins on both sides, and that'll take a lot of weight off the bike too. So, but apart from that, that's where it is. So in the next couple of weeks, probably the next week to 2 weeks, I'll be putting all these parts on the bike, and then hopefully and then we'll do another update. Hopefully by then I'll have some more updates for you guys as to the rear end of the bike. Waiting on this pillion subframe tail end, because that's really restricting us putting that in, which is coming from Japan through Kawasaki Australia. So that's where that is. That's the update, guys. On the 2022 MY 2023 Kawasaki Z1000R. I can't start it up for you guys. I would start it up, but unfortunately the battery's got to be replaced because I went to start it the other day and the battery was dead. It's obviously a brand new battery, but it's been sitting for a while, so I went to plug it in the charger and the battery charger wouldn't charge, and I checked it on the scanning system on the battery designator to see if it was any good, and it just came out and said bad. I'm like, oh, that's no good. Is it a badass bike or a bad battery? It's a badass bike. No, it was a bad battery. So that's that. Is what it is. So yeah, so future for this is, let's get all the fairings on this. Let's get this back to how it looks stock, which does look really nice stock. And then hopefully we can get this rear end section done ASAP and get that frame. This frame I had pulled this I had pulled this frame off the bike, but I put it back on just for context so people could sort of see what was going on here and why this hadn't been done. So I bolted this back on just lightly, just so people could see the reference of where this comes out and what fits on there and where. But that'll have to come back off again anyway. So yeah, we need that part. I'll be able to put all this section on here, do the undercarriage and fix that crankcase stator cover. And like I said, comment below if you guys think I should swap this headlight straight out for the charcoal silver with the fuel tank, or keep the original. I'm undecided on that. And then after we've got all the fairings done, we've got some bar ends to go on there as well. The adjustable Umbraco levers, hinge levers. Once we've done all that, I'll do an overview video of it complete, ready to go. And I might even do a video taking it to the inspection bay to get it inspected, and hopefully it passes. After we get all that done, that'll probably be the next 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Parts coming in, hopefully, fingers crossed for that. Then we start retrofitting it. So that's when we'll start pulling all the parts off we don't need. We've passed the VRV for roadworthy and whatnot as well on top of that, and we'll start retrofitting this. And then some lucky person, after it's been all tweaked and done up really nice, some lucky person will have the opportunity to buy it. So, that'll be a good story too. So this whole video documenting it, so that'll be interesting. Anyway, comment below if you have any ideas for the bike, any ideas as far as, external cosmetics, looks, any ideas for exhaust, any references you think might be good. Anyone else who owns a Z1000 out there has got anything cool done to their bike that they think I should definitely add to this. I'm thinking about getting a shifter kit put on it, possibly a steering dampener, brakes, I'm not sure, thinking about leaving those, but we'll see. Once I get it inspected and put back on the road, I'll take it for a test ride. Although, I've got a bit of a bad back and an injury I'm recovering from. I can ride a bike just briefly. This sort of bike's not ideal for a back position rider, but with an injury, but is what it is. But yeah, once we get it all sorted and back together, we'll take it for a bit of a test ride, and then we'll go from there. So anyway, that's that. All right, guys, so there you have it. There's the 2022 Z1000 Kawasaki update. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want to subscribe. If you want to like it, stay tuned for more. There will be lots more videos on this bike to come. Plus, after this, don't forget I've got the Indian Scout bobber to do as well. There's lots of stuff that is coming for that. Lots of parts, overviews coming for that. So stay tuned for that in the next couple of weeks. I have got more 3D printing videos coming as well for the 3D print enthusiasts out there. We've also got some custom little parts we've made for these motorcycles from the 3D printer that I'll be printing in carbon fiber. So stay tuned for that as well. I've got some frame inserts, some little brackets here and there to trial out. So that's something interesting to look at too as well. So yeah, like and subscribe. This is Chris. Happy Australia Day, guys, for those guys tuning in Australia Day weekend. And for all the best, 2024, Chris's Creations, I'm out.